Hello and welcome back to another Warlords of Draenor video. This time I'm going to be showing you the level 100 talents for the warrior, and first of all I'm sitting here in Fury. Now Arms and Fury actually share the same set of 3 talents, so you're not really missing much by me not being in Arms, and just for the sake of making things easy on ourselves we're going to start from the left and move to the right. Okay, so Anger Management is your first talent. For every 30 rage that you spend, it will reduce the cooldown of your readiness affected abilities by 1 second. Readiness has actually been removed from the game, so what this currently does is basically just reduces your main cooldowns by 1 second for every 30 rage spent. So we're sitting here at 100 rage. Let's just do this, blow a whole bunch of cooldowns, and look closely at the numbers, and in 3, 2, 1, I will start spamming Wild Strike, and as you can see, the numbers really do go down pretty quickly. That's a handy little talent, which will basically just mean that you can use your main things, your main cooldowns a little bit more often. Other than that, though, not particularly interesting, and it's the sort of thing that you just turn it on, and then you totally forget about it, and there's not much gameplay there, unfortunately. So yeah, maybe I'm a little bit of a mixed opinion on that, though I don't know if it's going to make it into the full game. Alright, so next we have Ravager. Ravager is actually really cool. It's a little bit like the ability from General Nazgrim, just that it doesn't bounce around the place. So it's got a 40-yard range, and a 1-minute cooldown. What you do is you throw an axe at your target location, and this will do damage to every enemy within an 8-yard range every 1 second, lasting for 10 seconds. Now this also has some defensive capability, in that it will increase your chance to parry by 30% for 10 seconds. So let's have a bit of a ravaging. So we, let's just get these targets that are close together. Now these are not level 100 targets actually, so some of the damage against these guys won't be scaled correctly. And, oh, no path available? What? I mean, I'm used to seeing that as warrior. So, your Ravager spins around and it deals damage to those targets. It's a really fun ability, and overall, yeah, I just like it. I also think it will be really just awesome when you're in a big AoE situation to use Ravager. Now, Ignite Weapon's a bit funny, so this is a talent that is supposed to replace Heroic Strike. The problem with replacing Heroic Strike is that it's actually been removed from Fury and Arms currently in the alpha, so this is just not working right. It does work with Arms, however, I'll just cut some footage in there now to show you what it looks like. Essentially what this does is it ignites your weapon, it does a little bit of physical damage, which is fine, but then what it also does is it means that your auto attacks will deal fire damage instead of regular damage for the next 10 seconds. So I would imagine that you just want to keep uptime going with the fire damage buff, and then just use this in the same manner that you'd use Heroic Strike. I suppose it is one of the more interesting talents, though because of the things that are going on with Heroic Strike, I have no idea whether this will actually make it into the game or not. Still, it does have the potential to be interesting if it's giving you an extra dot to maintain or something. Or not dot, just beneficial effect. Okay, so with this done, let's move on to Protection. Alright then, so let's have a look at the protection stuff. So first of all, Anger Management and Ravager are basically this, exactly the same as what I covered earlier. Nothing really new there, and honestly, I don't think that either of them are particularly interesting. At least Ravager is a sort of on-demand parry increase, but still I don't think it's too cool. Okay, so the big one though is Gladiators Resolve. Now this will give you a passive buff to your defensive stance that will increase the damage reduction by a further 5%. That's fine, but what people really care about is Gladiator stance. This will increase your damage done by 20%, and it will increase your shield block, or not increase, replace shield block with shield charge. Now that really is pretty big. If you look at shield charge here, it will, and I'll just read out the text here, raise your shield and charge a short distance to your target, and increasing the damage of Shield Slam, Ravage, and Heroic Strike by 30% for 6 seconds, and it's got a maximum of 2 charges, and it's got a 15-second recharge on those charges. So this does actually sound really cool. Now, look, with defensive stance, there's no point really showing that. You know exactly what it's going to do. It just basically means that you've got a stronger defensive stance. Let's move into Gladiator and charge into these guys. So first of all, we shall get some Rage up here. If we use that, then we, of course, get our buff to our various other abilities. Now, apparently this is very viable in PvP, and they've actually made 1 or 2 little changes and things like that to essentially just try to encourage it in PvP. Tanks actually doing something. And I think it really is nice how they're offering this, option to people. It's a completely different way of playing your tank, and honestly I think it's just really cool. But yeah, essentially, you just get the, the buff from shield charge, and that's about it. The range of shield charge is decent enough. It's 10 yards, so as you can see there, it'll jump us in. And I can imagine in PvP that would be really cool. I mean, you could have a Warbringer charge, and then your double charges from shield charge, and you could be flying all over the place. So from a PvP perspective, it sounds absolutely fascinating. However, from a PvE perspective, I've got to say, it's a very dull tier. Anger management, not that interesting, though of course we don't know how that's really going to pan out. Ravager, again, not particularly interesting, and Gladiators Resolve just gives you a passive 5% buff. Again, not very interesting. Also, you may have noticed that Heroic Strike is still here. That's still there for protection as far as I know. Anyway, that's been a bit of a look at the talents. I've not played a great deal of Warrior stuff on the beta. I'm going to do that now, though. Overall, though, I think the talents are, for the most part, just rather dull. I mean, I like Ravager, but I think that Ignite Weapon and Anger Management are just kind of boring to me. So Ravager's awesome, and in the PvP context, so is Gladiators Resolve. Anyway, do let me know what you think about these talents in the comments. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next time.